Hello, Collab, Design for Literacy students. This is Marcos. This is our week 6 to 7 recap briefing video, and it's a big transition week we're going through as we're wrapping up our baby board books and we're beginning our second project. How exciting! Our storybooks are now in the making, and I just want to get you guys caught up on what's going on so that you are ready to go. We had a great class session on Thursday, and almost everyone was there. Somebody was missing. No names, Mo. And we saw the completion, mostly the completion. Everyone's pretty close, but the close to or completion of the baby board book designs, which was so exciting. Little few design things or text things everyone's working on. A lot of credit needed on the spines, so make sure you're putting your name on the spines. But what we're doing now, as we go into this transition week, is there's two things going on at once. So as you see here, part six, final files, that's going to be due. So the final files are your final files for your baby board book. They're going to be, you're going to finish the design, you're going to add the bleeds, and then you're going to package them and upload them to the Google Drive so that I can then download them and prepare them for the printer to be printed. And this is important. I need everyone's by the end of this week. If you get yours done quicker, that's good. I can start working on the first ones and keep a pace with you guys. So start uploading those as you have them. So that's one part. And then the second part is we're beginning our children's storybook project. And that's going to mean developing your first concept presentation. Where, as I said in class, we're following the same structure, the concept presentation deck, the design presentation, design development, design finalization, and then completion. And we're going to go through that process again in a similar way with different kinds of reviews and ways of getting through each week phase in a way that can best develop your designs fully. So let's talk about the final files first. Let's talk about completing your baby board book. So based on our review, any edits, any changes, any design development you need, finish that up. Make sure your backs are buttoned up. Make sure your spines are right. Make sure then you read through it one more time, do some spell checks. Some of you had a couple of things not quite right. Have a friend read it, have AI read it. Yeah, come on, put that MF to work. Do some screenshots of your spreads, send it to them and say, does this all make sense? And get an edit from them if there's some mistakes. And then you're going to need to go into production mode. And that's going to mean you're going to need to create some bleeds. I'll show you that in a second. And you're going to package the AI, the InDesign file, and I'll show you that as well. So remember, you're working from InDesign from the template. I think everyone's doing that. Make sure you've downloaded that. It's in the canvas if you don't have it yet. Use this file. And what you're going to do is when you have your project completed, what you're looking at here is the full layout with the bleeds applied. See how this outer edge goes all the way to the very edges. Because if I change the slide here, you can see in the bottom corner here, as I go back and forth, you can see that the live area is smaller. The trim area is further back. And so you need to just extend that to the red line. To that red line should be the color or the image you have in the background. Make sure you do that across the full design layout for every single page, not just the back that I'm showing here. So go through that and do that. Make sure your bleeds are everywhere. Make sure that all your links, your PNGs, your JPEGs, your TIFFs, whatever you have for your illustrations, make sure they're all in InDesign, they're attached, and that your fonts are also legit, that they're all included. They're all, either they're Adobe or there's something you purchase, make sure they get connected, and then package the file. And you go to File at the top here, the first menu, drop-down menu, and you go to Package. You click Package, and then you just hit OK here, or you hit Package, and it'll collect your InDesign file. It'll make an IDML file. It'll make a folder full of links, and it will collect your fonts. So make sure you do that, and then upload that full folder to your Part 6 Baby Board Book folder on the Google Drive, and then I will take it from there. Here is the Canvas briefing assignment that's got the template. It's got a little link down here, the second red link, that's got explanation tutorial on how to make a packaged file in case you need it. Use the internet, use your friend AI, and a link to the Google Drive. So make sure you get that done first so that I can get my hands on it, uploaded here on Part 6 Final Files. Okay, so I'm not going to make a big long speech here, but remember we just talked about, and for sake of those who weren't in class, we just talked about the importance of this next phase of the storybook being about continuing to be about that reading experience that goes together with a family that involves a reader, a grown-up, a younger kid, reading to a younger person out loud and having that read together time and how vital that is in the nurturing of a young mind and a young heart, the love that brings and also the learning that brings. We're still doing that. We're still going through the process of making that a priority. We're not trying to create academic books. We're not trying to create books that teach you to read. We want them to learn to read, and that's something they're going to learn to do, but it's going to be more about learning about the care and love that goes within a family. But even bigger than that, it's going to be about creating a view of the world that will begin to expose children to what reality is like and what it takes to navigate this world and be successful. Not in a heavy duty way, but in a way that we just kind of understand the human experience as the designers and authors of the book and present that human experience to them and present these stories that showcase scenarios where heroes or ordinary people or supernatural people have to face peril or face challenges and triumph over them or overcome them, and see how those things can happen through good character and a connection with a higher power, and that people are able to do amazing things because of their will and their beliefs and their ability to actualize things that are greater than what one would expect to do, and stories do that. So try to do that with an understanding of the human experience and understanding that we are created beings and that we have a valuable inner life. And that's kind of what is at the core of our current Western civilization and other civilizations, that we recognize that each person is an individual and they're important. And they're important because they have rights and rights that are endowed by the Creator. And that those are things that make each of us important. And to recognize value and nurture that inner life and make a child understand that what they think and what they feel is important and others they can feel are important as well. And we want to nurture that and bring that. And we want to do that with the lens of understanding of reality, that we want to see the world as it really is, the way it is broken, the way it can really be beautiful, but the way that it can be unexpected and it can be tragic. We don't want to bring hardcore tragedy into our books necessarily, but we want to prepare them for the realities of life and not present a utopic kind of vision of what we wish the world was. We want to be realistic about what reality has to offer. And what reality really has to offer in the end is really a belief in a greater good and that there's something bigger than ourselves, something outside of ourselves, an objective standard, something divine that makes things possible to be good, to be true, to be beautiful. And that reality is something we want to reflect in our stories and in our approach to how we present the world to kids so they understand that they can believe in a certain way and they can build their character upon those set standards and become good people and struggle to overcome their shortfalls and be better than they expect to be. Okay, so that's just kind of a quick version of that foundation that I want everyone to have. And we talked about the storybook being 8 by 10 and that it's going to be full color. It's not going to be a self cover. It's going to have a cover that's harder, and on the inside are thinner pages. So it's a little bit different than the baby board book. We're looking at it having the dirt logo in the bottom right corner. There is no spine on this one. On the back, there's going to be a UPC in the center. On the inside, there's going to be some pages with dirt logos and some front matter and back matter that you don't have to touch. We'll get into that more later. But here's just a showcase of some of the books that I brought to class that I shared on the briefing on Thursday, and talking about how each of these books have a unique individual look that each of you as designers, as artists, will bring to your book, and how important that is to me and to Dirt that you bring your vision, your aesthetic, your vibe to this. But at the same time, there's something about these, as different as they are, they're unified. Probably the tricky little brand in the corner of Dirt, the Dirt logo in the corner at the bottom there. But there's something more than that. They've got a uniqueness because they don't have this kind of pandering kids book look to them. They're sophisticated. The illustrations are unique, and whether they're simple or whether they're complex, and the typography is cutting edge and still friendly to kids, and not always the coolest type, but there's an aesthetic to this that you as young designers bring to it. And I want you to bring that to this. So make sure you're not trying to like talk down to like creating a book that looks kiddish. I want the sophistication you see in just this small sampling of dirt books that we have. And then when it comes to the text, we went through an exercise in class where everyone chose from the list that I provided. And that list provided books from different cultures and books all in the public domain, books that, or not books, but stories that are maybe well known. Many of them weren't, though, well known, and many of them are there to provide an insight into a different culture, insight into a different kind of theme that has to do with like human experience and endeavors that make us better as a society or as individuals. And in those texts, you're welcome to take what I'm outlining here is four different possible approaches. One is to take the traditional text, just as it is in the link I provided or in the story you find, and go with it just as is, and don't even change the text at all, and just kind of create a book from that public domain text. And that's a great option. An option that slides down from that just a little bit is to take that same idea, but then upgrade the text, edit it, create a modernized version, a more friendly version of it, still have the same exact plot and maybe it can vary a little bit. You can condense it if needed or expand. Well, maybe not expand it, but whatever you want to do to make it be the same kind of thing, but with upgraded text. So those two are very similar. And then there's another way where you can kind of take the story, and this works best with well-known stories, but it can work for any story, and just revise it. Be careful not to like kind of change think about what you want the moral to be, what you want the learning moment to be, what you want the takeaway to be in terms of what happens and what is reflected in the actions of the plot or of the character, but revise it in a way that might bring something new. We looked at or talked about the book Jack and Jack and how it's Jack and the Beanstalk, but in our book we just bring in the vision or the point of view of the giant himself, who also happens to be by coincidence named Jack, which is why the book is called Jack and Jack, and how they both have fears and apprehensions about what's out there in the outer world from outside of their home or their neighborhood, and how they meet on the beanstalk and actually discover they have much more in common and become friends. That's a way of taking a story that's well known, changing it up, but not making it something that's a corrupted version of the story. And so that's a great approach to do. Another thing we looked at was this, and let me just show the covers here, Jack and Jack. We also looked at Can I Have a Cookie, and how they took the Aesop fairy tale of the ant and the grasshopper and translated the story from being those insects to two sisters who are in endeavoring to be at home and make cookies with their mom, but one of them does make cookies with the mom. One of them does take the time to do all the hard work needed to create the cookies, while the other one lounges around, plays around, takes a nap. And then when it's time to have cookies, she finds that she's not going to be included because she didn't participate in it. But then we twist it a little bit more, and she does the cleanup, and she earns her way into having the cookie. In the meantime, there are all kinds of hints about the ant and the grasshopper in the different design motifs of the apron or the book they're reading on the floor, like to bring in that clue. So that's kind of a smart way to use a well-known story and then create it into something unique that uses the same track and vehicle that the narrative of the classic story you're building on has. And another version of that, we talked about A Day of Adventure, how that took the story of Stone Soup and created no, I'm sorry, not Stone Soup, the Stone Cutter, who is this, which is a Japanese myth, legend, fable of a stonecutter who looks up in the sky and covets and doesn't like his own life and covets what it's like to be a cloud or what it's like to be a bird, and becomes those things magically, supernaturally, however. But as he becomes one thing, he wants to become the other thing, and as he becomes the other thing, and it kind of continues on and on until he realizes that he really just wants to be himself again. So this is brought together in the exact same technique or the exact same plot, but it's applied to a young girl of today who lives in Tokyo and is playing around, but wants to be more than just who she is, and starts coveting wanting to be a kitten or wanting to be the sky. And like the same thing happens. So it's taking the same part of the story or the same parts of the story and applying them and redressing them into a new set of characters. And so that's a strong way to take a story And then we also looked at just on the top row are just kind of like the first three are more like the classic ones that aren't really changed too much. And then on the bottom two on the left, those are more like what we have as a lot of the options, which are like old class. I won't even say classic, old, maybe unknown stories from the past that we want to bring and from different cultures, whether it's the Flower Elves, which is a Chinese fairy tale, or whether it's the Selfish Giant, which is a Victorian story. Bring those into like modern application and make them accessible to kids. So that's another way of looking at it as well. And just a few quick further case studies here I want to show you. This is an example of taking something that exists. And in this case, this person said, many of you chose the option, I'll find a story, or I know a story that, or that was an option, and many of you took that. And this person took that option and said, you know what, I've always loved the song This Old Man, he played knick-knack on my bun or somewhere. And so she took that story and just turned it into a book. And this showcases what she was doing in terms of making it a very kind of big graphic kind of book and just literally taking the lyrics to the song and making it the story. So this old man, he played knick-knack on my thumb, not bum. And just throughout follows through and creates the storybook. This is almost a borderline baby board book in a way. So this kind of shows the connection between what the baby board book is and what the storybook is. Not that I'm trying to get at the border like this. You can do this, but like this could become, it doesn't have to be this graphic or this kind of cartoony, but this is a way to do it. And then, oops, now I lost where I'm at. Another option is this here is the idea of like taking and this is a story from India, Sharanya, so I can make up for my blunder yesterday. But she took a holiday, the holy day. I think it's Hindu, and I think she just made this up based on that holiday. She created. Let's see here. My concept is based on Holi, the Hindu festival of colors. So it's the color thing that we all know about. And she just created the story based on that festival and made these incredible illustrations and just easy to read, beautiful typography. And it was kind of a two-part thing to introduce this tradition, this festival, this holiday, this holy day. But she also brought in this idea of like diverse ways of thinking and brought in a secondary character who was not Hindu. And she engages him in the day. Here he is, Zaid or Zaid. And they take off together. As you can see, he's dressed a little differently, signifying a different way of thinking and different way of thinking and seeing the world. So I think this is great in terms of like celebrating a specific holiday, but also shining a light on the diversity of ways of thinking. So I think this is a fantastic, great book. So this is another way to see things, to be an author and to pick a subject matter and then pick a way to showcase that subject matter. So there's something favorite that you have in your culture or something your family celebrates. Maybe find a way to create a story like you do, like you see here with the Holy Day. This is a book that's based on philosophy. It's called Time with Taki. And let me see if I can read here. It's a Chinese allegory from the butterfly dream, an ancient Chinese allegory, but it's reinterpreted and rewritten to create this character called Taki. She invented the character. She just takes the fundamental aspects of what's in there and she creates a great book that kind of explains the idea of what time is about, both in like a poetic and a philosophical and an easy to understand, fun kind of way with these great illustrations, just easy to read type, and these kind of sort of everyday but wackied up kind of situations, driving through the rain or baking cookies, and just really exploring the idea of time and how time flows like music and brings the song and how important the importance of how time can take the bad things away and you can be here in the now and time can give you a hug and just a beautiful idea of the now and really nicely done. So this was just done last year. So okay, and then let's see if we got maybe one or two more. This is from the same author of A Day of Adventure, and this is Momotaro, and this is, I believe, a Japanese. It's it's based on Japanese folktale. Momoto is a classic Japanese folktale that tells a story about a boy who was born from a peach, which is Momo, and raised by an elderly couple who picked up the peach to go on an adventure to defend the ogres on Ogre Island. So this is really just a great story of like the classic journey, hero's journey, and it's just beautifully illustrated or watercolored, painted, I believe. And she wrote the text based on the story, and up just kind of updated it to be modern, showing him coming from this giant peach, and then being raised by this elderly couple, and then like all hero tales, having to finally grow up and then leave home and go on this adventure, and along the way meeting friends and meeting comrades that would go along with them as he moves forward towards his goal, and then having to overcome the ogres on Ogre Island and discovering that there they were with all the loot of the community. And of course, they had to plan an attack. And again, it's about realities and needing to defend ourselves and to seek justice. And so they plan a surprise attack, and they attack, and are boink their way through, and are successful and victorious, and secure back the treasure for the community, and go back home and are exhausted. So it's just a good story that talks about the need to go out there, discover who you are, and overcome evil and have good be victorious. So yeah, that's another way of creating it. So I think that those are the examples I wanted to share today. Okay, so um, all and more are on the Dirt blurb page. There's a link in Canvas. You can go there, or it's well, that's too long. Go to the Canvas and you can find Dirt Book there. Okay, so you're going to create a research deck. It's going to be the same as the deck you first created for your Whitby board book. And you're going to do several things. Let's just move ahead. You're going to create the cover page, use the same cover page. Don't start going crazy with the design. You're going to overview the book. And if your story is already in as a book in other places, if it's been printed before, do a page or two that showcase previous versions of how this book has looked. I don't know if anyone you will have that, but if you do, do that. And then, of course, let's do the research. Let's dive in and look at some storybooks that are influential, that have storylines or design tech or illustration techniques that are attractive to you, and do some case studies that you can present in class next week. Do three of those, just like last time, and then collect some visual inspiration that's based on how you think you might want to execute your illustration in the book. And again, be both prudent and do what you know how to do, but also be ambitious and try to do something new and different that you might want to learn in this project without biting off too more than you can chew. Look at the typography, the color systems, and design inspiration, visual inspiration of those things brought together. So that you've got a good foundation of what you think you want to do, and we can talk about it in class. And also, the most importantly, to describe your design approach for your story. You might also want to present your text, like this. Many other people have presented their text, like here's my text, and then here's my design approach. In this case, they just have kind of two different options they describe about how they might execute it that are based on these samples. And I noticed last time some of you guys put the design approach first, and then you backed it up with your inspiration. That's fine too. It doesn't have to be in this order. And of course, as we know, keep those beautiful thank you pages rolling in. There have been some extraordinary thank you pages that have made me so happy and joyful. I want to see more. But just the words thank you is all I need to see. But if you want to do more, I love that. So please, that's the A making machine just goes nuts when she sees that, and the golden A's start getting churned out faster than you could imagine. All right, so here's just a view of what you should be putting together for that final presentation. And I've got all this described on Canvas, and there's a Google Drive folder up and ready for you to run, to upload. And here's a punch list of what you should have. And yeah, again, we're doing two things. We're finishing our baby board book. We're packaging those files. We're uploading those, and then we're beginning the process of our children's storybook. And the part I didn't really describe here is coming up with what your story is going to be. So that might be a big challenge. If you're struggling with that over the week and need my feedback, please reach out. Again, be careful not to choose a story that's not in the public domain. Um, and and but also be willing to maybe, even if you find one that's not in public domain, you can always use it as an inspiration and create a different story. Not that we're ripping off other people's ideas. It's more about like creating something based on some basic fundamental elements of what makes the story interesting and good. Okay, guys, that's it. I will see you guys all Thursday, and reach out to me if you need anything, and have a great week. Bye.